In this example, we are to find a standard form equation ax plus by plus cz equals d for the plane described by the parametric equation here. So in this parametric equation, we can describe any point P on the plane as a combination of a known point A plus some part of vector q, which is on the plane, plus some part of vector r, which is on the plane. So in this diagram here, A is our known point. We have vector q and vector r, and we can use these three pieces of information to describe any point P on the plane. So again, A is our known point, P is the point that we're trying to describe. So to find the standard form equation of a plane, our first job is to find the normal vector n, which is perpendicular to the plane. Now, if it's perpendicular to the plane, that means that n is also orthogonal or perpendicular to both vectors in the plane. So it's orthogonal to vector q, and it's also orthogonal to vector r. Now, when two vectors are orthogonal, that means that their dot product is equal to 0. Now, to write out a dot product, first we're going to write out vector n, which will label ABC. And we'll dot vector q, which is 1, 2, 2. Now to calculate this dot product, we multiply the first entries together, so it's A by 1, plus the product of the second entries, so 2 times B, plus the product of the third entries, so 2 times C. So this is our first equation here. Now we're going to set up a second equation, doing the same thing with vector r. So again, we write out n, and we write out r. And we calculate the product of the first entries, plus the product of the second entries, and the product of the third, which will be 0 because 0 times c is 0. So I'm just rearranging this equation. Now, because we have two equations and three unknowns, we're going to set one of our knowns and then solve for the other two unknowns. So I'm going to set b equal to 1, and using this equation, we know that a then equals 2. Now to find for c, I'm going to use this equation here and sub in our known values. So now we have our normal vector, which is equal to 1, or 2, 1, negative 2. And I'm just going to write out my point on the plane that we know as well. So that comes from this equation up here. Now I'm going to set up our standard form equation, and then we'll fill it out with our information. So the values from our normal vector become the coefficients in front of these brackets. So the 2 goes down here, then the 1 and the negative 2. So all these values come from our normal vector. Then the values from our known point go into the brackets. So 4 goes there, 2 and 1. So let's just expand this equation. And then we'll simplify it. So I've just moved all of the variables onto one side of the equation. So this is our standard form equation for the plane above.